Overall, halfway decent, all things considered. I'm Joe Rentham with the retro review of WCW Thunder for December 13th, 2000. Go home show for Starrcade 2000. I'll have that retro review up at some point very soon after this, probably. And it wasn't that bad. It wasn't great because WCW at this point was spiraling out of control. But let's jump right on into it with Mike Sanders addressing the people from his little child desk. Says that Sarge will get his shot at Luger after facing off against Goldberg on Monday. Well, Tuesday Nitro, because they were actually taping Nitro and Thunder on the same night to cut costs because nobody really wanted to attend Thunder because it was Thunder, and Thunder wasn't very good. Even a halfway decent show, Thunder was just exposing the fact that they really didn't have a lot for these wrestlers, and it was definitely the B show. And then Chavo Guerrero, after beating Mike Sanders for the Cruiserweight Championship, will take on Perfect Event. And it will be a handicap match unless Chavo can get a tag partner. Spoiler alert, he doesn't. Flair is then watching Sanders on a monitor. It's monitor inception. And he adds a few things. Sid and Scott Steiner, you can tear each other apart. Screw keeping the people apart and, making people pay the pay-per-view price to watch these two titans clash. Let's just blow it here on Thunder, a show that nobody really fucking watched because nobody wanted to be on Thunder. And then Sanders will face DDP tonight after all the stuff that's been going on with the Thrillers and Nash and DDP. Shivani, Tenay, and Conan on commentary, at least Conan for most of the show. Noble and Courageous versus 2 out of 3 count versus Young Dragons. It was a Starrcade preview. A ladder was introduced. It wasn't bad. I'll give them that much credit. All these guys went out there and really put forth some big effort. They would put forth even bigger effort on the Starrcade card. And we get a tumble off the ladder. Courageous pins Moore, and him and Noble are having an argument because they're unlikely tag team partners. And then Flair says that Storm will learn the words to the Star Spangled Banner and that Duggan will teach him because Duggan, after the stupid turn to join Team Canada, was going to morph back into being a babyface. Then we get Chavo versus the Perfect Event. Chavo tried. He really did try, but he ended up falling into a double flapjack soon after, but he got in some good shots. And then Sid calls in and says he will be there later and that, make sure that Steiner stays in the arena. Because commentary is going to be able to keep Scott Steiner in the arena. Nobody can keep Scott Steiner in the arena. I mean, except maybe, the people paying him. And then Vito and Reno beat up Bam Bam Bigelow, because why the fuck not? Ming then says to Flair, hey, I want Scott Steiner tonight. I mean, and Ming never really got to do many promos, never had to do promos. Ming was Ming. He's still tough. He still scares me in 2020. And Flair says, you got it. Storm is then out there to perform the Star Spangled Banner. Keeps screwing it up. Miller and Miss Jones are out there with the picnic spread. Miss Jones spreading it out all over in front of everybody. And then Storm's ruining it. Duggan decides to help. And he's having a sudden face turn because people realize, by the way, that it was a bad idea to turn Jim Duggan heel. And they were taping this in Shreveport, which is where Jim Duggan got a big break by being in Mid-South Wrestling. And Storm says, hey, Miller, you're going to face Duggan. Why don't you just face Duggan? Because we need a match, really, to fill this out. Duggan basically wants to fight his own battle. He, gets a 2x4, putting his wood deep inside Ernest Miller. Have fun on seeing that. And somebody had a sign in the front, clearly a plant, or maybe not. Maybe they were just a Mid-South wrestling fan. That's easy for me to say. Come home, Hacksaw, we love you. And he's struggling with this. He's about to take the Team Canada jersey off, and then gets the Feeliner. 1, 2, 3. Crowd chants USA for Duggan. He's back. He's going to come back to being a face. And then we get Sarge Dwayne Bruce versus Lex Luger with Luger's old music, just for whatever reason. They were changing up a lot of the music here. I didn't understand it. Sid then calls, saying he's going to get directions to where, the arena is, because apparently GPS did not exist in 2000, and Sid didn't know how to read a map. Sarge takes it to Luger, and then Luger actually gets a shot, and more wood being used by various men on other men on this show than any show before. And then he racks Sarge to get the win. Then Luger runs on Sarge, and then Goldberg going to beat Goldberg at Starrcade. DDP runs down Sanders while doing some yoga. It's a good thing he never, it's a weird thing he never capitalized on that. Man, he could have made so much money. I kid, he's made a fucking fortune with DDP yoga. Sarge is checked on, while, by the doctor. And then Kronik versus Vito and Reno. This is supposed to be a Starrcade. It wasn't bad, I'll say that much, which is shocking given the teams involved. And suddenly Jarrett and the Harris brothers attack Conan from the crowd while Jarrett just takes his instrument and drapes it all over Conan's face, smashing it into his face repeatedly, draping it all over, and that got weird on me. Conan's laid out, then taken out later. Kronik wins. Vito gets his stick out. So much wood usage on this show once again. And it's a pull-apart brawl. I think we get this match at Starrcade again. I'm struggling to remember all the Starrcade 2000 content. Then the Thrillers lay out Nash in the locker room. They even put a weight scale on him. Basically, what I'm trying to say is Nash was working for scale here. And the scale outworked him. DDP versus Mike Sanders. It was mostly a squash until a diamond cutter, and then everybody interfered. Well, the Thrillers interfere. And it was a beatdown because they caused a DQ, so whatever. Scott Steiner versus Ming, WCW title. And, I mean, what could you expect from Ming at this point, even though he still legit tough and still legit tough now? He'd been wrestling for many, many years, and Scott Steiner was roided out of his goddamn mind and wasn't really all that mobile. But Ming splashes a few times, gets a 2. Sid then just suddenly shows up. He's just suddenly there. His music hits, and he's just suddenly halfway down the ramp as the recliner is put on, and, you know, basically Ming gives the verbal command or just passes out, and they have to declare Steiner the winner. And they have a brief brawl, and Sid choke slams him in the ring. That's really about it. I'm just going to do this. Even though it wasn't that bad of a show, I'm still going to throw away the notes because WCW 2000. Anyway, agree, disagree with what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Retland. I'll see you soon.